Imagine after working hard your entire life, you reach the point where you're finally able to retire from work and you've saved enough money that you can move to an idyllic, nice, quiet community with like-minded peers so you can enjoy your sunset years doing pretty much whatever you like. There's just one problem. Monsters may break into your house while you're asleep and suck out your life force. Wait, is this what happened between Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo on the set of Wicked?
Can you believe that we're doing Popular today? It's going to be so great. That joy he wanted to infuse in every frame so that when you've experienced the film with all the tears...
Well, either way, it is exactly what happened to Alfred Molina's Sam in Netflix's new sci-fi series, The Boroughs. And yeah, the way we pronounce these kinds of vowel sounds over this side of the pond is completely different and obviously superior to how our cousins in the colonies do.
Welcome to the Burrows.
In the Burrows.
Burrows.
In the Burrows.
Thank you for calling the Burrows.
Tomorrow.
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 It's tomorrow.
No, it's tomorrow.
But after finishing the show, I couldn't help but feel that a lot of mysteries were left unresolved. And while it may be that these mysteries were left unsettled to entice people in for a season 2, unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. And either way, I don't really care to wait that long if it does come back. So, if you didn't think like me, stick around while we investigate the mysteries of The Boroughs.
So kick back and enjoy. I promise you'll have the time of your life.
In this video, we're going to cover the most prominent mysteries from the show, including what exactly is Mother, and what was the deal with the mystical tree, what was with all the glitching, and the weirdness with the TVs and time, and what on earth was with the Quartz. But let's start with the most fundamental question of all, from which all others derive. What exactly is Mother? Throughout the show, we get consistent allusions to the creature we eventually come to know as Mother, who it turns out looks far more humanoid than anyone in the show, and I'm guessing most of the audience predicted. But this is almost certainly not her true form. The reasons for that are, 1, her kids may want to get a maternity test because they look absolutely not unlike her, and 2, it's heavily implied that the creature looks like an old woman because it's been feeding off the cerebrospinal fluid of the elderly residents of the Burrows. In fact, this is confirmed by the show's co-creator Will Matthews, who states, "We like the idea that you are what you eat," further explaining that this applies equally to the humans in the show who sustain themselves on Mother's blood, which explains why they turned into grotesque monsters who look more like Mother's children than she does. Although I will note that this doesn't quite explain why the kids still look like creatures. Presumably they also feed off the humans, so they should look more humanoid. The only thing I can think of is that they were able to survive off of Mother's milk or blood just like humans do, and since Mother is still a creature like them, they retain their natural form. Another theory is that they're simply extensions of Mother herself, which we'll come back to in due course. Either way, while this is great and all, it still doesn't explain what Mother and her children are, or where they came from, or what the deal was with the mystery tree. Why did it bear life-giving fruit, and why did Mother and her children choose to die there? Well, let's start with Mother's origin. In episode 6, Wally describes how Blaine, then named Marcus, discovered Mother.
In the spring of 1949, a local miner named Marcus Shaw found a strange egg buried deep beneath the ground. That egg hatched a creature they call Mother. Drinking Mother's blood holds you in time. You don't age, you don't get sick, and you'll never die.
Not exactly a huge amount of information to go on, but it's enough. So the creature we now know as Mother hatched from an egg, presumably in a form which resembles her children, which was found deep underground in New Mexico in 1949. Oh, yeah, if you didn't already know, The Burrows is set in New Mexico, where it was also filmed on location.
Whoa, slow down there, maestro. There's a New Mexico?
The site of the most famous reported UFO crash in history, which occurred just 2 years before Mother was found in the summer of 1947. But what if the UFO, or weather balloon as is the official government narrative, wasn't the only thing that crashed? What if, whatever it was, broke apart and both debris and organic sentient material landed in the New Mexico desert that day? Well, this would certainly fit with the timeline of the Roswell crash, accounts for these otherworldly creatures which are almost certainly not from Earth, and accounts for the director's panning of the camera skyward during the last frames of the season finale. Okay, so Mother's an alien. Big deal. That still doesn't explain why her blood could heal and even stave off death, or why the mystery tree bore fruit which could do the same, or why Mother and her children chose to die in that exact location. To explain these mysteries, we're going to turn to animal biology and ethology and start with the curious case of why she was so particular over her deathbed.
People who right now.
We have to help her. She wants to die. And we have to get her to Art's cave. It's where she was born. Her children have been preparing it for this moment, for her end. It has to be there. It has to be now.
Certain species of animals are known to engage in various death-related behaviours and even rituals around the time of their death. But we're going to focus on one in particular related to Turritopsis dohrnii, better known as the immortal jellyfish. This species has an incredibly peculiar life cycle, and as the name implies, members of the species are functionally, biologically immortal. But more than that, it's the species' life cycle which is of most relevance to us. In this paper by Matsumoto et al., they lay out the extraordinary life cycle of the immortal jellyfish. In figure 1, we can see most hydroids, a subclass of aquatic invertebrates to you and me, start as a colony of polyps before sprouting as free-floating medusa, which then mature so that they can reproduce before they die. However, the Turritopsis life cycle is a little different. Once they've emerged from their polyp stage and reach sexual maturity, they can choose to actively regress their biological development and de-age, reverting to earlier stages, even rendering themselves back into undifferentiated immobile blobs which simply lie on the seabed, motionless. Then, over the next 1 to 2 days, a new hydroid colony forms, which is capable of sprouting a new medusa. Except, this medusa isn't actually new, it's the exact same one which regressed in order to give birth to itself.
Damn, nature, you scary!
But why am I banging on about the life cycle of miniature sea creatures? Well, does the hydroid colony stage of this life cycle remind you of anything? No? How about looking at the real thing? Still no? What if we put it next to, that's right, the mystical tree? But looking quite alike is not their only similarity. As discussed, hydroids contain polyps which spawn jellyfish-like medusa. Well, what if in the universe of the Burrows, these creatures, which by the way look like land-dwelling semi-aquatic invertebrates such as crabs, can partially reproduce by generating a hydroid colony containing fruit, or polyps, which if left long enough can spawn into land-dwelling invertebrate medusae? If correct, this would mean that the children are mere extensions of Mother, the original medusa, which explains both why they didn't need to consume human brain fluid to survive, and thus why they didn't transform to appear more human-like, and why they all physically joined with Mother during the time of her death, because they're all part of the same single organism that is Mother. But rather than gradually de-aging back into polyps like Turritopsis dohrnii, this species ends their metamorphosis with a bang, returning to the soil from which a future version of itself can be reborn, either as a hydroid or perhaps the single original version of Mother emerges from an egg like the one found by Blaine. And the hydroid-like tree is merely a way of Mother-type entities to produce extension-like children to find their sustenance. Okay, that was a lot. But there's also one more mystery that's solved if my theory is true. You see, scientists have been researching these so-called immortal species for years, investigating not only how to attenuate the aging process, but also how to heal previously unhealable injuries, both minor and major. Now, obviously in the real world, this requires the aid of decades worth of intense scientific study and the application of meticulous genomics research. But I think we can afford a sci-fi mystery show a little latitude and accept that direct consumption of either the blood or polyps of these creatures results in direct and immediate health benefits and de-aging. Okay, so let's recap thus far. We're dealing with an alien who likely crash-landed in the Roswell incident. This alien Mother resembles a humanoid due to its diet of human brain fluid, and its true anatomy resembles a semi-aquatic invertebrate such as crabs. Its life cycle resembles a hydrozoan with reverse metamorphosis and potential immortality. Its blood, like some hydrozoans and semi-aquatic invertebrates, also has healing properties. And finally, the death of Mother and her kids simply equals the restart of their life cycle. But what of our remaining mysteries? What has any of this got to do with the weirdness going on with the TVs and time? And for the last time, what of the Quartz? Well, just like how the mysteries surrounding Mother, the mystery tree, and the magic healing properties of her blood could be solved with a single unified theory, So too can the mysteries of the glitching, the TV and time weirdness, and the quartz. In episode 1, Gina Davis's Renee submits another in what is apparently a long line of police reports regarding stolen quartz.
What can we do for you, Renee?
I've been robbed. Again.
And what are we missing this time?
A bag of rose quartz.
And we later find out this very niche crime spree has been affecting residents all over town.
Tell them about your missing chess pieces.
My chess pieces are missing.
Her quartz chess pieces. Just like the quartz jewelry that's missing from my classroom. Right. Just like the quartz coasters that vanished from Paul's kitchen. We all have the same story.
We later get confirmation in episode 3 that it is in fact the so-called kids who've been heisting the quartz when we see Hank covering up yet another burglary.
What are you up to, Scar?
Then, later in that same episode, we also find out in a relatively subtle way, or subtle to me at least because I completely missed it at first, what the kids seem to have been doing with the quartz. When R finds the mysterious Tree of Life, you can see in the background that the entire tree has been decorated with quartz crystals, hung up seemingly to take the place of actual fruit, which the tree can no longer bear. In other words, the quartz seems to be acting as a stand-in for the magic, for lack of a better word, that would typically be represented by the healing fruit. But why quartz? Well, while rose quartz, the type stolen from Gina Davis's Renee, is associated with various claims such as improving skin tone and preventing wrinkles, to even possessing the ability to heal, such claims are currently anecdotal and not backed by scientific study. However, the other residents just refer to quartz crystals more generally.
Her quartz chess pieces. Just like the quartz jewelry that's missing from my classroom. Right. Just like the quartz coasters that vanished from Paul's kitchen.
And if we rewind and take another look at the Tree of Life, it seems to have a variety of different quartz types on show. But why does this matter? Well, it turns out that quartz is a material conducive to producing piezoelectricity, a charge generated when mechanical tension is applied to a material, in this case, a crystal. In addition to this, when voltage is applied to quartz in a sort of inverse piezoelectricity, the crystal ever so slightly changes shape, and when the voltage is removed and the quartz changes back, it emits a small voltage of its own in a kind of rebound effect. And the reason this is important is because the quartz oscillates at a stable resonant frequency, meaning it's an exceptionally accurate way of measuring the passage of time. Due to this property, quartz has been in widespread use in wristwatches since the 1960s as companies competed for ever more accurate timepieces. Not only that, but its properties also made it perfect for use when colour TVs started to become accessible to the general consumer, specifically for the old CRT TVs, which should look very familiar if you finish watching the show. These Fleetwood brand CRT TVs appear in every episode and play a surprisingly big role in the show, and so it only makes sense that they'd play an equally large role in our theory. Just like for wristwatches, quartz crystals were used in CRT TVs as the reference oscillator, which is one of the key parts allowing analog TVs of old to actually present pictures in colour. And in case you haven't guessed it already, the reason this is relevant is because time is probably the central theme of the show. We have people like Sam who are struggling with the passage of time, with aging specifically, due to the psychological and metaphysical strife spurred on by loss and grief, while others such as Blaine and Annalise are driven by vanity and the need for physical security and stability. And given that the juvenile creatures made such a fuss about collecting these crystals and intricately displaying them on the Tree of Life, I'm betting there's a connection between the quartz, time, TVs, and healing. But to make that connection, we need one more piece of the puzzle, and that's electromagnetism. You see, in addition to gravity, the weak nuclear force, and the strong nuclear force, electromagnetism makes up one of the 4 fundamental forces of the universe. It's also responsible for our ability to transmit and receive radio, television, Wi-Fi, and mobile signals. And I think in the world of the Burroughs, it's also responsible for how Mother is able to communicate telepathically with both Sam and the Duchess.
I know you.
No, I don't think so.
She told me all about you.
Who?
That's the question. She appears different to all of us who see her. Always someone from our past, like a daughter or a sister or
wife.
People who right now.
We have to help her.
She's talking to you?
In my mind.
But what am I basing this on? Well, two pieces of evidence in particular. The first one we've already mentioned, and it's the CRT TVs, specifically how they stop working and revert to black and white or even static whenever they're near a creature or its blood. This kind of effect suggests interference with either the quartz, which would affect the colour, or interference with the TV's electron beams, which would result in either garbled visuals or complete static. We see both during the course of the show. It's also important to note that this interference doesn't happen to the TVs in the opening scene of the show belonging to the unfortunate old woman. But this provides even more evidence for my theory, since the only electronic devices she uses are modern, and these are relatively unaffected by external sources of electromagnetism. The second piece of evidence I've got is the birds. No, not those birds. These birds. This was a pretty abrupt and shocking scene, and it's never really explained. However, similar events have unfortunately been observed in real life, many of which experts have also been at a loss to explain, such as this incident in Mexico.
This next piece of video, here we go, watch. Can you believe that? So this is a flock of yellow-headed blackbirds crashing to the ground by the hundreds.
And although never directly confirmed, since birds use the Earth's magnetic field to navigate, it is very possible that strong enough electromagnetic disturbances may well cause such erratic and kamikaze-like behaviour. If this theory is true, it would mean that Mother's psychic and possibly other powers are related at least partially to electromagnetism.
She's been crying out to you for help, even the damn birds could hear it.
Which, given that the three focal points of power in this town consist of Mother, the children, and the Tree of Life, means that there will very likely be a spike in these fields in the caves surrounding the tree, which is also where Art's cabin is located and where, ultimately, the birds self-immolated. All of this suggests that Mother communicates with humans, and probably her children, via telepathy which runs on some form of electromagnetism, which explains why CRT TVs malfunction and animals misbehave in their presence. It also suggests that this species may have a way of combining the power of electromagnetism with quartz crystals to affect and even manipulate time.
Mother doesn't experience time in a straight line.
If the Tree of Life is in fact their equivalent of the Immortal Jellyfish's hydroid, which allows them to restart their life cycle, then given that quartz is clearly important to this process, it only stands to reason that the alpha or queen of this species, Mother, is able to use electromagnetism and quartz to not only turn back time for themselves, but also for others not blessed with such power. This would explain how Mother was able to grant Sam the opportunity to see his deceased wife again, using her abilities combined with the Tree of Life, which itself is powered by the whole town's supply of quartz. She was able to alter not only time, but also reality itself, as Sam's wife wasn't acting merely as her past self, but as a version which had lived on in some form since her death.
Lily?
Hey, you old girl.
Is it really you?
It's me. Oh. She's saying thank you. Time is a gift.
How long do we have?
Are you gonna stand there asking questions, or you're gonna dance with your beautiful wife?
We'll be together again.
We are together always.
Not only that, but it may also explain our final mystery, revealed in the penultimate scene of the show, where it's shown that Sam is now subject to some sort of glitch and affliction. We get very little on this, but it's reasonable to conclude that Sam becoming the Burroughs version of a Pokemon Missing No has everything to do with the scene we've just covered. Sam's unintended expedition into whatever realm, dimension, or parallel universe he was transported to likely changed not only his biology, but fundamentally altered the state of his atomic structure. Without going into detail on the various possibilities proposed by theoretical physics, which would take way too long, the most plausible theory to my eye lies in Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. In brief, this theory posits that you don't just live one life, you live every possible version of your life simultaneously in an ever-branching multiverse. Every time a quantum event occurs, such as you making a choice, the universe splits into a new timeline.
So this is why it's called the many worlds interpretation, because as wave function collapse occurs due to observations, a parallel universe is created where that wave collapse never occurs. This theory introduces the seemingly absurd complication of creating a near infinite number of parallel worlds.
And although this typically happens at the subatomic level, scientists have become quite adept at replicating these quantum effects at ever larger macroscopic scales. But how does this account for Sam's glitching? Well, if Mother did in fact transport him into a parallel universe, perhaps a universe we might interpret as heaven, then Sam's physical state will have interacted with this new reality, which may have caused quantum entanglement due to existing in a state of superposition, as per Schrodinger's cat. This would effectively mean that Sam exists in two places at once, or as two probability spaces, where effects on one impacts the other. He exists in between realities with a foot in both worlds. This could have been something explored in Season 2, but unfortunately it now doesn't seem like we'll get the answers to these questions. But what do you think? Did you enjoy The Boroughs, and are you disappointed that it may not get a Season 2? Do you have any alternative explanations for the mysteries presented in the show, and the ones we cover here in the video? Do you think Sam seeing his wife again was simply a vision implanted by Mother? Do you think his glitching is simply an effect of Mother's explosion? Let us know in the comments. And finally, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. See you in the next video. Ta-ra.